My name is Juan Francisco, and I'm a psychic medium and tarot card reader. I've always been curious about the supernatural, the paranormal, and psychic abilities, and I'm here to share my stories and interview folks who want to share their own stories with us. Let's get to it. I am excited to talk about this topic because it is something I'm very passionate about. How modern spirituality, New Age, whatever we want to call it, how it has become sort of religious in some senses, in some respects. But before we get into that, I just want to say thank you so much to you folks on YouTube who are watching my podcast video versions or listening to my podcast audios on YouTube. I'm so grateful for the amount of subscribers that I'm getting on YouTube. And y'all, it's not a lot. I don't got 1,000 subscribers, but I have 184, 185. And I remember for a long time, I had maybe 25 to 30 subscribers for months and months. And I'm just so grateful that folks are resonating with this on YouTube and they enjoy watching me just talk on screen or just listening to my podcast as you would any other podcast streaming service that has audio. So thank you so much, YouTube subscribers, for listening, for watching, for also being okay with my little doggy Sella appearing on screen or on the side, shuffling her little paws. Thank you so much. And if you are watching this on video, you just saw Sella's little ear pop into the camera because she wants attention. And I just also want to say that I have, on my website, this is for everybody, I have reframed my tarot card readings as intuitive tarot readings just because I had a recent experience with someone who gave me really great insight. Shout out to Mary Beth, who runs her own company as an intuitive and also as a life coach. And she is soulshinecoaching.com. And I had a really great session with her that went through my website, went through my business, also went just through my career in general. And it was just so insightful. And I actually got to give her a card reading as well after our session. And she helped me understand that I do card readings, yes, but I go very, very intuitive in my card readings. And she inspired me to want to rename my my service as intuitive card reading. So you might see that on my website. And I'm just feeling so good about how things are going in this field of things, the psychic mediumship work and the podcast. I have a lot of excitement and hope for the future. I don't know what it's going to hold, but I'm excited. I feel good about it. And I always enjoy when folks send in emails about my podcast or have questions or want me to answer or respond to a certain topic. I'm always down for that, especially in anticipation of spooky season in October. I would love for folks to send in their ghost stories. I would love for folks to want to come on the podcast and share their ghost story. Send me an audio note so I can feature it on the podcast about your ghost story or supernatural experience. So please email me, send me DMs. And if you want to be on the podcast, you want me to read or to play your voice recording on the podcast, I'm more than happy to do that. And it's okay if we disagree on something. That's a healthy, good thing. That is what being human is about. So it's okay if you may not agree with what I say in an episode. I'm more than welcomed. I'm more than happy to respond to it and do it in a civil way. Unless you cross me. I'm just kidding. I would never want to highlight disrespect or being nasty because I try not to do that. So if you have something you want to say and you want to say in a way that's respectful and kind, but fully in disagreement, I'm down for it. So with that in mind, let's go into this slightly controversial topic. At least it may be controversial to people that may not agree with me. So, I have shared before that I grew up with the Roman Catholic religion, and then I went to a Protestant high school. And I have to say that the Protestant high school was pretty. Protestantism is another level of strict. Catholicism, it's strict in terms of rituals and doing things. Protestantism, it's very strict in terms of belief. So, based on my experience, I understood Roman Catholicism to be more about if you do good things, if you're a good person, you have a place in heaven, or at least close to heaven. In Protestantism, many Protestant sects of Christianity believe that in order for you to get to heaven, you have to believe in Jesus Christ as your Savior, that He died for your sins. And even if you're a good person, you can be a good person, but if you don't believe in Jesus as your Savior, you do not go to heaven. So I grew up with these two very different ends of the Christian spectrum. And I went through a very religious phase in high school into college years. And as I've said many times before, but for those of you who haven't heard the podcast before, I was in the closet. I was very ashamed of being gay. I didn't want to be gay. Then I thought, okay, well, God made me gay, but maybe I shouldn't act on being gay, which was a struggle too, because then it's like, I kept thinking, I have these lustful thoughts for other men, so I'm always committing this sin because I'm thinking about other men. It was really, really, really stressful. And it was one of several things that fueled my obsessive compulsive disorder that I also grew up with. And it really took me through years. I mean, I was already struggling with self-love since childhood, but it really piled onto that struggle, that hardship. And it wasn't until 2021 that I had my first spiritual awakening. I also had my first boyfriend, and I realized that, it's okay to be gay. It's okay to be me. It's okay to be in love with another man. It's okay to have sex with another man, and I'm not going to be struck with a bolt of lightning because of it. And then I went through many years of just being so interested in conversations about the other side, so interested in psychic mediums and the supernatural and ghost tours, paranormal investigations. And if you haven't heard my first podcast ever, the first episode on this podcast called When I Connected with the Soul of Ryan, it was during a card reading. I learned how to read cards, tarot cards, in 2020 during the pandemic. And in 2021, during a card reading for a friend, my friend Natalie Namaste, her loved one came through. And that was the first time I realized that I could possibly do mediumship, and I had to develop it more. I went to a mediumship circle, and I'm still part of that mediumship circle. And then last year, 2023, I had a spiritual mentor, Daisy from Earth Angel Crystal here in New York City. And throughout all of those experiences, that was a big summary. Through all those experiences, I have seen many different forms of spirituality. Now, I'm not talking about spirituality. I believe, yes, Christianity is a spirituality. It's a spiritual belief system. So I'm not sure what to call the department of spirituality, the field of spirituality that is not religious, believes in crystals, believes in mediumship, believes in, there's no name to capture exactly what I want to talk about, but I'm just going to say, I'm going to include in this bucket crystals, mediumship, tarot cards, or other kinds of cards like oracle decks, oracle cards, runes, tea leaves, Reiki, like just this big umbrella. There's no one name for it. Maybe some people call it New Age, but I feel like New Age doesn't even capture it. Because then what will New Age be when it's an old age? Let's see what I did there. Anyways, ignore that horrible joke, dad joke. This stuff, okay? I've seen many different ways of being this kind of spiritual. And as I have learned what other people do, what their daily practices are, how they meditation, another thing that we could add to the list, I struggled a lot with what is the right way to be connected? What is the right way to be on the path to enlightenment? And I don't think there is a right path. And I take issue with, there's a group of people out there, and not a definitive group, just like there's some people out there that want to say that in order to be at peace within yourself, in order to be connected to God, in order to be happy, in order to be on the path to enlightenment, you have to do XYZ. You have to meditate every day. You have to meditate for an hour a week. You have to buy crystals. You have to see a shaman. You have to fill in the blank. Now, I want to say I'm not trashing or judging any of those actions. I have a lot of crystals. I've never seen a shaman, but I'm not interested in seeing a shaman, but maybe one day I will be. I have my white sage. I have my Palo Santo. I have my Agua Florida that I just started using last year thanks to Earth Angel Crystal, which introduced me to it. I have at least a dozen Oracle and Tarot card decks, which I really want to look through, by the way, because I haven't looked at them in a while. I got my Mother Mary statue, my Jesus statue. I've got my crystal bracelets. I've got my smudging feather. I have all these things. But I would never tell somebody, hey, the altar that I have here with all my stuff that I just listed off, that's what you need to be connected, or that you need these things to be happy, to feel like you are on a path to enlightenment. And I feel like there are some people out there, and some psychics, some mediums, who want to tell folks that it's not helpful, they want to tell folks, what am I trying to say? They want to tell their audiences, they want to tell folks that in order to, let's use this as an example. In order to call in the angels, you have to burn white sage and I'm gonna make something up. Play a sound bowl. I got a sound bowl. I got several sound bowls too, by the way. That this is how you call in the angels, with a sound bowl and some white sage or Palo Santo. And when I hear things like that, such definitive statements, like this is how you call in angels, I get a little bit annoyed because, and I've said this before, I didn't leave the Catholic Church. I didn't leave Christianity to enter a world of progressive, boundary-pushing spirituality to then be told that, oh, but this is how you call in the angels. It's this is the right way. I did not leave Christianity for that. And I want to honor what people's practices are. This is where I'm a very yes and kind of thinker. I want to honor someone's practice. If the best way that someone has found to call in the angels for them is to play a sound bowl while burning white sage, great. But then to say that this is the right way to do it, and if you do it any other way, or if you change the method that I just told you, then you're not doing it the right way. You're going to call in evil spirits, or the angels are not going to listen to you. No. Well, who made you God? That's what I say. Who made you God? And I think sometimes it could also become very, I don't think gaslighty. I don't think that's the right word that captures it, but becomes very condescending, because then it's sometimes it comes off as, oh, you don't do it this way? Well, you're not a high vibrational person. Or, oh, you don't put crystals under your pillow, or you don't have these crystals. Well, it makes sense why you're not very happy. If there was one right way, if according to I'm making up a name, this is not a real person. If according to Michaela Smith, psychic medium Michaela Smith, psychic medium and Reiki healer Michaela Smith, what Michaela does is the right way to do the things, and any other way doesn't work, then girl, Michaela, the majority of the world is in trouble. They're all screwed. And I refuse to believe that. I refuse that most of the world is going to hell in a handbasket because they're not buying crystals. I refuse to believe that the majority of the world is lost, not on a path to enlightenment, because they meditate only a minute a day or don't meditate at all. I refuse to believe that. I strongly refuse it. And I used to meditate. That's a really good example I want to hit on. And I've said this before in the podcast too. I used to meditate every Monday to Friday. I would do it before my work day. I found that very helpful. I would journal with the thoughts that I woke up with, and I would meditate. And I can tell you those moments, that practice probably helped me through a lot of mental health struggles for myself. At least speaking for myself, that's what that did for me. I don't do that anymore. And I sometimes miss it. And I tell myself I should go back to doing that. But I don't tell myself I will be okay only if I meditate every day. I will be okay only if I journal every day. And when people want to make it seem like, well, you can't be happy because you're not meditating every day. Well, don't tell me. And I'll be very honest with y'all. I have my tough moments. I have my tough days. I had a tough day yesterday. But I'm very content with my life. I'm finally at a place where I love myself and I'm content. I've made such a 180 from who I was a year ago, 2 years ago. I am so happy. I'm not always happy, but I can tell you right now, I'm happy with my life. And I am so grateful. I have so much gratitude. And you're going to tell me that I'm not going to be happy because I'm not meditating every day when I'm telling you that I am content with my life and I've been feeling content with my life for the last few months and I don't see that changing unless something happens. I'm human. I can get angry or sad tomorrow. But the main thing is I feel content and I love myself more than I used to. And you're going to try and tell me that what do you think that contentment is fake because I'm not meditating? So what I'm trying to get at, folks, is I feel that there is amongst some healers, amongst some psychics and mediums, that there is a tendency to want to preach what the right way is. And I don't know about y'all, but that turns me off. There's a difference between saying this is the right way for me and this is what has worked amazing for me. A difference between saying that and saying I have channeled from the other side that this is the way to do it and we must do it this way. There are thousands of religions on this planet for a reason, because everyone is trying to find their own way. And I believe that always, every way leads to God. I do believe that. Unless I change my mind one day, I don't believe in hell. I don't believe in being a lost soul. I believe in being a soul that decides to not be in the light. That's not the same as being lost. You know the way. Your soul knows the way to the light. But it's up to the soul to decide to approach the light. I personally don't believe that souls get lost. I believe maybe there's confusion that souls may have. Again, I've never died. I haven't died. Well, I have died in past lives, but in this lifetime, I have not died, and I don't really know what it's like to die. But although in the past life, I did see myself die in transition, and I went straight to Jesus in that lifetime. But I really don't know what it's like to die, and I don't know what it's like to be a quote unquote lost soul. So do we by not meditating every day, do we risk becoming a lost soul by not praying every day? And now, prayer is a very personal thing. I believe that prayer can just be like a hey God, and that's all you do all day. I believe that's prayer. That's my definition, my opinion. But let's say you don't pray, you don't even think of God every day. You don't think of the other side. You just go about your day, you don't think of it all. And you're happy, you're fine. Who am I to tell you, well, you're not very close to God if you're not thinking of God today? And look, I think it's important to think of the God or the higher power that we believe in frequently, but I don't believe in a hell. I don't believe in a soul getting lost. So why would I? What's the point? What's the point of bringing any of that up, right? As I've said many times before, we are already connected. There is no such thing as trying to get closer to God. There is no such thing as trying to get closer to our highest selves. Those things are immediately accessible to us. We're born with those being intrinsic, being part of who we naturally are, being part of who our souls naturally are. What makes us feel quote unquote lost is we stray away from those knowings. We stray away from those rights that we are born with. We are born with the right, the natural universal right to have access to our higher power, access to our higher selves. And anyone that makes you believe that God is somewhere distant and you have to go chase God, that sounds like good old Christianity to me, the one that I grew up with. Now, I know some Christians who are very progressive, who are very cool. I'm not talking about those Christians. I'm talking about the Christians that I grew up with in a very conservative high school. That's what that reminds me of. And I know that hippies didn't go through what they went through. I know that people didn't learn about other cultures to infuse them with their cultures. I know that people didn't do past life regressions, astral projections, to arrive at a place today in modern spirituality where we tell people that in order to be closer to your highest self in God, you must meditate 15 minutes a day. It don't make no sense to me. So the final thing I'm going to say is, let's honor people's spiritual practices. Again, I'm not judging crystals. I've got so many crystals, y'all. And some of them I use in meditation or prayer when I want to. Or I use when I'm doing a reading once in a while when I feel called to use a crystal. So I'm not bashing crystals. I'm not bashing Reiki. I'm not bashing journaling, meditation. I've done most of these things myself and they have been beautiful experiences. What I am saying to be conscious of is, let's not tell people that what works for us is the only thing that will work for them. The universe is way bigger. God is way bigger than any rule that there's only one way to that higher source. The universe is too big for that. So I think it's important to respect people's spiritual practices. But let's not idolize practices. Let's not make practices the golden calf, the one thing that's going to get us out of something, unless those practices resonate with you. That's the most important thing, is you have to find something that works for you. If for you, you don't feel comfortable sitting down and meditating quietly with or without music, go for a walk in the park instead. Go for a walk outside. Maybe you will I have gotten downloads, folks, taking my dog for a walk. I have received beautiful spiritual experiences. I have seen a past life flash before my eyes while walking my dog with the intention of, hey, spirit guides, hey, God, I want you to join me on this walk. And I have gotten downloads. I've gotten feelings and sensations. And I've also gotten those experiences sitting down and meditating in my room. There is no one right way. So I empower you, I encourage you to find your own way that works for you. And if someone else's way works for you, that's great. But that's the key, is that it has to work for you. And when it feels like you're doing something just because someone says it's the right way and you so desperately want to get to that end goal where you're feeling connected and empowered, there's no harm in trying things. Try it. See how it works for you. But when you know it's just not fitting right, if you know you need like a half shoe size up or a half shoe size down, and it's just not fitting, it's not feeling right, let's be real with ourselves. And let's be kind to ourselves by honoring what our souls need, what our humans need. We are souls in human bodies. All souls are the same, but we are in human bodies with certain sets of experiences and memories and biases. And these are things we need to be conscious of so they don't get in our way. But there are some things we need to honor about our human selves and our brains that maybe will help us find that thing that unlocks that connection for you. I'm all about trial and error and experimenting with what practices work for you. And I think the moment that somebody makes you feel like you are less than, spiritually less than, or that you are low vibrational because you're doing something that's different from what they do, but you know that you're happier than you used to be, that sounds like somebody you need to set a boundary with. And I'm going to leave it at that. Send me your thoughts, emails, DMs. And I hope you have a beautiful, non-restrictive day of connection with your highest self and your higher power. Love you all. Take care. If you have a question or topic you want me to cover on Third Eyesight, head to my website, juanfranciscospirit.com/contact, and send a message my way. If you really enjoyed this episode, leave a review wherever you listen. I'd really appreciate it.